I think it's time for a road trip. But where should I go? St. Louis. My name's Benjamin Eichelberger, and I recently took a road trip to St. Louis, Missouri to get some behind-the-scenes footage of Lightwire Theater. Lightwire is a live performance company that puts on one-of-a-kind shows that involve acting, dance, and electroluminescent puppetry in a pitch-black theater. It's unlike anything you've ever seen before. I was able to meet up with Kevin Chick, who's an old high school classmate of mine, to get a behind-the-scenes look at Lightwire's presentation of the classic fairy tale, The Ugly Duckling. We settled into the hotel room to grab some rest for the next day's performance. The early morning started with some snowfall, which is uncommon for the St. Louis area. But the sun quickly burned it off and it was time to grab a smoothie and hit the road for the theater.
I think step one is have as many beverages as possible in your hands at any given time.
You are accomplishing that.
Yeah. Is that alright? Did you actually?
Yeah.
I was like, that's weird. Like, that's bizarre.
I got to shadow the cast for an entire day and get a real look at their process from pre-show preparation to post-show wrap-up. This particular cast includes my buddy Kevin, as well as tour manager Tyler Scifres, Jesse Forcha, and Calvin Rowe, who also happens to be a former high school classmate of mine. We headed to the James J. Egan Performing Arts Center in Florissant, Missouri, where they started prepping for that day's performance.
So we just finished like pretty much all of what we call the load-in. We've got everything set up backstage. We've made the theater dark because it's a dark show. Not dark humor, but dark electroluminescent wire show. And now we're just kind of making sure that everything that's set up in the dark is going to be safe for us. And that it all turns on.
Yeah, that's important.
Don't forget to check that it turns on.
Rule 17. Remember to not forget.
Remember to not forget is a funny way to say it, but this show travels all over the world and performs hundreds of times per year. Things do break. The characters that you see on stage during a Lightwire show are actually life-size wearable human puppets that are outlined in electroluminescent wire, or L-wire as the crew calls it. Here Calvin explains a little bit more about how the characters are constructed and what elements are put into the design to make sure they don't fail while on stage.
So a lot of let's say this duck, could probably do 4 shows. Truly, do 4 shows and be okay. I'll try to let them only have 2 shows before I get them fully charged again, which is a simple plug it in when the light turns green, it's ready. These ducks take maybe 10 minutes. Ugly here, he ends up taking a long time, so does Mother Duck. I think it's both because the characters are on so much, but also just their batteries, which you can see in here, this unit. It's, I believe he's still on 13 volts, so he's a little bit brighter than everyone else. And this whole thing is a cluster of batteries together that then would have a charging port right here. So when I would unplug this, then this battery would get plugged into here, which is powering then all the L wire. The legs actually get plugged in separately, and I have these on from the start of the show. Wrapped around, I just have an elastic belt that I wrap them up and tuck them in. So that makes getting into this character a lot easier because I already have the legs all strapped on and I just plug them in and I wrap the belt. And then most people wouldn't quite understand how I can play the little ducks. I actually have this around my neck, and I actually even have it facing a certain way to make my life easier. So this is a quick release mechanism, and quick to get in, quick to get out. And I just have a zip tie around the handle of Ugly's head here. So a simple lever for his jaw, boom, boom, and then I put a zip tie and taped it on. Now that allows me to connect here to his head, which, let's do it kind of like this. So then I would be able to let go and use both of my hands. So during the water scene, before I come on as Ugly, I'm playing the baby duck swimming across, going quack, 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 you know? Take it off, and then, meaning remove his head, come in as a new character.
So is the L wire, is it all custom, or is it something that is it manufactured just for Lightwire, or is it something that's commercially available?
It actually is originally a commercially available, or for commercial use. L-wire is never intended to go through the kind of movement actually that we end up putting it through. It's a delicate wire, which is why everything has two lines actually. If you see closely, these are two independent lines. There's a switch. This switch is what's turning it on, but underneath there is a switch that will change it to an entirely new set of wire, which means if I literally break one of these wires where the copper is sending the electricity, if that copper gets broken because it's been moved, the electricity isn't going to be going through it anymore. I have an alternate line, redundancy, so that I can then quickly switch lines and have a character again. In our show, it's just inevitable that something will break. We're moving. Jesse does a ton of movement with his legs jumping around. Even the Ugly Duck has different areas that are going to take impact at times, and it's just kind of inevitable that it will happen. You try to just be always ready for that, always ready for something to go wrong, because the nature of our work is that something will go wrong, and that the audience never knew what happened, you know? The best compliment is that the audience never knew of what you thought could almost have been a catastrophe. And they never knew.
When those inevitable malfunctions do occur, the cast has to take time either before or after the show to make repairs.
Little bitty metal filaments on the side that are just so freaking fine. I can't even, I can see it on there, I can't even peel it off. Unless I cut it, and that's just the trace of where it was, which is probably what I did.
After some intricate work with the soldering iron, it's time to see if the costume is back to full functionality.
Yay!
Yeah, baby.
Yay! The leg works.
The leg works. And that's a great thing too, because these four guys are responsible for keeping this show running smoothly at all times. If there's a problem they don't know how to fix, there's no technical support crew waiting to help. Tyler originally joined the theater company thinking he would just be tour support, but he talks about how that quickly changed.
I did not join the company thinking I was going to perform. I thought I would just be a driver slash fixer slash manager, and then it became very apparent very early on that that was not a possibility. Like, if you're going to be a part of the company, you have to perform. There's no not performing, because there's such a there's only the four of us, say, for this particular show. So most of the performers here with our company know how to solder. And that's because they want to know how to solder, not because we force them, but they understand the kind of theater that we do, all hands on deck. If your costume doesn't turn on, you don't get to perform. The show doesn't go on, and it's a sinking ship. So I think soldering is kind of like the safety boat. that for a poor analogy, it's the safety boat in our company. It's just that basic skill like breathing that everybody needs to know how to do, because every one of our suits is soldered together. This is just the nature of the beast.
One of the most incredible things about watching this show live is how much action can be created on the stage by these 4 performers. Kevin and Calvin both talked about how many characters there are in each show.
Lightwire brings 37 characters to life. I was like, 37 characters? Well, what's a character, I guess, is my question now. Because they're counting like you're counting, like anything that moves.
Anything that moves.
Yeah.
Anything that has to have. So a prop, I'm not necessarily considering a prop that I hold, like, maybe I wouldn't consider my eggshell a character.
Right.
But that's a prop that I'm using.
It's a prop.
But Elton John is something that you have to swing across.
Like bring to life or something?
Bring to life.
Yeah.
So.
What about the egg roll? The egg that rolls on stage?
Character. The egg and
the action.
Yeah.
And speaking of action, it was time for the cast to get ready to take the stage. The performers wear completely black clothing, including black face masks, so that no parts of their bodies are visible in the darkened theater. After some stretching and warm-up exercises, it was showtime.
Yep, ready.
This particular show starts with a solo piece by Jesse Forcha. It's highly entertaining and sets the stage for the main part of the production, which is the retelling of Hans Christian Andersen's classic tale, The Ugly Duckling. I'm not going to give away any of the highlights or surprises from the performance, but it goes without saying that if you get a chance to go see Lightwire Theater, do it.
Bit of a sweater, that one. Dude, bro.
Nicely done.
That got real.
Low on energy?
What's that?
Low on energy?
Yes, but still like push through because these kids, it's their first time seeing the show. You know, every time before you do a show, you're like, they've never seen it before. It's gonna blow their minds, so you gotta give it a hundo. It was rad.
That was incredible, you guys.
Right, I think it's fine. Thanks, man.
You guys are working hard up here.
Yeah. You use the most energy when you're using a lot of mind, right?
Okay.
It actually it's burning the most calories. So when you learn a show, you're usually running at, let's call it 120%.
Okay.
Now that you know the show, you're trying to it's in your body, so you're using less energy then you try to step it up, and just the physical aspect of it. So not trying to where am I, what am I doing right now, but really just the athleticism. So hopefully the only extra expenditure of energy is because you're wanting to push it a little bit further.
The show was over and it had been truly excellent. Kevin then got to treat his nephews to a backstage look at how he performs his characters.
You think you are? I don't know if you can. Whoa! You got it. All right, you're hired.
With the cast debrief finished, we decided we would go check out the Gateway Arch, St. Louis's most famous landmark. During the drive, I was able to get Jesse's thoughts about that day's performance.
I feel great, actually. All the energy of performing is out of my body, and I'm just amped up. Got the audience getting me all pumped and feel great. A little sweaty, and hungry, but it's all good.
Do you feel a sense of accomplishment? The day's work is done.
I do.
Time to relax a little bit.
That's the best feeling too. It's all done, and now we can have some canes, take a shower, and go see the Arch in St. Louis. Can't wait.
How did you get selected to do the solo piece at the beginning?
So I got selected. It's actually in my track, and a track is pretty much a role that each of us play throughout the show. And the cat track in Ugly Duckling actually performs the opening solo of the dance, because I have the most amount of time to get ready after the opening starts to start getting suited up for my cat.
And he rocks it.
And
he rocks.
they tell me I rock it.
You
so
do. I've watched.
It's really fun. The bass gets to you. But yeah.
Jesse, I'm actually curious, what's your favorite part of the dance? I know that some of you don't necessarily love, but like...
What is my favorite part? Let's see. I guess the opening, when it gets into my body and starts making me pump. I'm trying to think of... It's all pretty fun, It's just groovy.
The kids lose their minds on the barrel turns, like every
They do.
time.
Barrel turns are fun. Just don't get dizzy, and make sure you know where the front of the stage is so you don't fall off. But yeah.
With work done for the day, it was time to relax and hit the world-renowned Gateway Arch. Are we doing a silent tram ride?
Oh, dude, just because it's a very uncomfortable small pod, and I want to see how weird it can get.
We'll see how long that lasts.
You're going to lose.
I'm gonna win. I'm gonna fall asleep.
You're a liar, Jesse.
And just wake me up when we get to the top.
You gotta hold up your cards like a mugshot.
All right.
Other way,
And
Other way.
there you go. Oh, yeah, you weren't going the wrong way. Did you want to take another one?
No, that's pretty indicative of my intelligence level. The view of St. Louis from the Arch is incredible, and I highly recommend it to anybody visiting the city, unless, of course, you're claustrophobic. The interior of the Arch feels like being inside an airliner, but the barrel elevators going up and down are a completely different story. Well, good night. It was a great way to cap off a fantastic weekend, and I felt fortunate to get such a behind-the-scenes look at the magic of Lightwire. I had a great time hanging with the cast, and I definitely made some memories that will last a lifetime.